If I told you for 60 bucks you could get some relatively good audio out of your microphones, would you believe me? Because if you told me that a few years ago, I would not have believed you whatsoever. I may have even possibly, maybe, laughed at you because there's absolutely no way you were going to convince me some time ago that for 60 bucks I could get a decent audio interface. I would have thought at minimum I'd have to spend 100 to 150 bucks because that's what I've done in the past. But the past is the past for a reason. We are now in the present. And in the present, budget gear is actually has been shaping up to be pretty solid. So let's check this thing out. Let's see what it does, and let's see if it lives up to the things that it says it does. So some of the features that are listed right here on the back of this pretty little box. XLR microphone input with powerful preamp, Bluetooth and aux input to enrich your content, fast mute for inputs, direct monitoring and loopback switch, compatible with Windows, Mac OS, Android, and iOS, 48 volts phantom power for condenser microphone and background music volume control, 2-level noise canceling to reduce ambient noise, USB-C for easy connection with computers and mobile devices. That does a whole lot of stuff. But it's pretty much, that didn't work out. It's the same exact stuff that most audio interfaces do, with the exception of a couple of key differences. Number one, you can Bluetooth your phone in through this and run music into it, which is pretty darn cool and not something you would ever typically see in a $60 gaming audio mixer. The other thing that the Maonocaster G1 Neo does that I have yet to see anyone else do, at least within this price range, is the built-in noise reduction right here. All right, and this thing, I'm just gonna tell you right now, this thing alone is enough to have justified this costing $100, if not a little bit more, because this is excellent, and you're gonna see it here in just a little bit. Now, as far as build quality is concerned, I need you to manage your expectations, all right? Because the Maonocaster G1 Neo is an all-plastic build. Is that disappointing? Of course it is. I would have loved to see a little bit more metal on this thing because frankly, if I were to just, do that number, I mean, no one's going to actually throw their interface into the ground. But if this thing falls, for some reason, I do feel like there's a legitimate chance that it will crack and it will break. And more importantly, I don't know how good it would be at absorbing the impact and then not affecting the internals, right? Which is the most important thing. If the case cracks, whatever, as long as the internals are fine, we're good. But I'm not confident in this thing's ability to take impact. Now, that being said, I also don't think that there's going to be any real scenario where you're at risk of dropping this thing, because once you pop it down on your desk, you're pretty much done, right? So all plastic build, we have 3 different knobs. We have gain, reverb, and headphones. So you're able to control your microphone gain, the reverb for your microphone, and of course your headphone volume that you're able to connect to the back here of the headset. We have 2 different sliders, plastic sliders. As far as like the resistance on them, they feel really nice. I do like how they feel, but again, they are plastic sliders. So God forbid something falls on them, maybe there's a chance that you might, break it for some reason. We have a mic mute button here. We have a music button over here to mute your music or mute your sound coming into this channel. And then of course the button for 48 volt phantom power and the button for Bluetooth. We have RGB because apparently we still have to put RGB on things. Side chain, I'll explain what that is later on. Noise reduction, 2 different levels. And of course, voice changer and direct monitoring, which is actually super awesome that that's a button on its own. Because again, that's not something you typically see on any sort of budget price item at all. So for 60 bucks, not the best build quality, but not the worst. All right, considering the price. And you just get a whole bunch of things that I would have never dreamt of seeing on an item of this price point at all. But, build quality is only like 1/10 of the battle. Let's hook this thing up and see how it sounds, because that is super important here. So what we're listening to right now is the Universal Audio SD1 running through the Maonocaster G1 Neo. I do have noise reduction turned on, the noise reducer that comes on board, no programs or VSTs or anything like that. And it's set to low. And this is what it sounds like. And I'm going to tell you right now, I think that for $60, this sounds really darn good. The microphone itself is a $300 microphone. Of course, the mic's going to sound good, but the noise reduction that this thing does and has on board at low does a really, really, really good job. I'm very, very, very impressed with how well this thing performs for $60. Now, let me walk you through all the different things that this thing can do in regards to your microphone, right? So as I said, what you're listening to right now is the noise reduction turned to low. Let's go ahead and turn it on to high. And now this is what it sounds like with noise cancellation turned on high. And now we're going to turn it off. I'm going to slowly turn the volume up just so you can really hear what's going on in the background here. And then we're going to turn the gain up all the way. And now we're at maximum gain. And it's kind of noisy, but I wouldn't expect anything different from a $60 device. The other thing that it has is a reverb dial. And we're going to go ahead and start slowly turning it, on. And I'll be honest with you. Listen, I don't really understand where it is that you would need to use this, but hey, I've seen people use voice changers and voice mods and stuff like that and create really fun content with it. So in case you were wondering what the reverb would sound like, then this is it at maximum right here. And we're going to slowly start turning it all the way back down and eventually turn it off because it's kind of annoying to hear constantly. If we go through the voice changer, we're going to find a couple of different options. So let's go.
This is what I would sound like as a female, at least according to the G1 Neo.
And this is what I would sound like as a male, according to the G1 Neo.
If I was a baby, this is what I would sound like then.
And of course, if I was a robot, this is what I would sound like then. They really should change this. This should be H-Town. If you know, you know. And then now
we're back to default, just like that. So again, nothing like absolutely necessary to have in this kind of a device, but the fact that it's included and it's only $60 to have this kind of stuff, it allows you the opportunity to have a little bit of fun with your content and with your voice. So no harm, no foul, just nothing that I'm particularly a fan of, but nothing that I'm going to hold against the device as well. So let's talk about the Bluetooth connectivity with the G1 Neo, because that's a feature I did not anticipate to see on a $60 interface / mixer. Okay. So in order to do this, it's very simple. You just take your mobile device, you go to your Bluetooth settings, you should find Maonocaster G1 Neo there ready to pair. You pair it, about 10 seconds later, you're good to go. You open up Spotify, you want to add some music to the background of your video because I'm sure that y'all are probably tired of hearing my voice. So in order to not deal with any sort of copyright strikes, be it from Twitch or YouTube, you're going to go into your search bar, you're going to type in Stream Beats by Harris Heller, and you're going to find a song called Peel and Stick, and then you hit play. And here we go. You've got music now in your content, just like that. Super easy. And you're able to control the volume, of course, on your device, but also on one of the sliders on the Maonocaster G1 Neo. Now, not all that glitters is gold, and I wish that, I didn't have anything negative to say here, but I actually and unfortunately do. There's a problem that I found that I had not discovered until I literally started recording this segment of the video. These sliders, and I'm going to try and explain this the best way I can because I've actually never encountered this problem. The slider doesn't respond one-to-one with the knob that it's on. Of course, my yard guys are here. Of course they're going to be here as I'm recording this video, but the show must go on. All right, so no big deal. So right now I have the slider, and if you look at the slider, you would think that it's at a level 2, right? It looks like it's around 2 or 1, and it starts at 0 at the bottom, right? But if I just move down to a tiny little bit of a notch here, it cuts off the song. You don't hear the music anymore. You shouldn't be, at least. Yeah, I can look at the meter here and can tell you're not listening. You can't hear the music anymore. But the weird thing is that even though the music's gone, I still have, I'd say, about maybe 1/4 to 1/2 inch to still bring the slider all the way down before it actually hits 0. And now if I bring it back up, I'm looking at this and it looks like it's at around 2, 2.5, maybe even 3 before it actually brings the audio back up loud enough so that you can hear it. And that is very unfortunate because that even at 2 and at 1, you should still be able to hear something. And my volume knob for my headphones is all the way at maximum. And yeah, you just bring it down like a centimeter and it right there just cuts it off. And yet I still have literally 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 inch to go all the way to the bottom. And it still cuts it off. And we go back up again. And we're now able to hear the music come back in again. So problem with the sliders, not a big fan of that. But on the flip side, it's really cool that the Bluetooth functionality is included. And I guess in this instance alone, the slider's not that big of a problem because you're able to control the volume on your device right here. I can turn it down more, or I can turn it up a whole lot more, just like that. So I can kind of forgive the slider being an issue here because I'm able to control it this way. But if that's a problem, outside of this Bluetooth scenario, then that kind of sucks, to be very honest with y'all. But we'll see. Maybe I just got unlucky and got a bunk slider. I don't know. But either way, that's the Bluetooth connectivity of the G1 Neo. Next thing I want to do is I want to, because I don't know how this happened, but at some point I felt like I read that you're able to connect this to your console and use it as an interface with your console, which in theory should be allowable because it's a USB device. So we're going to switch on over to that setup over there and see how this works. Okay, so in order to test out the G1 Neo as far as a console use case is concerned, I've got the G1 Neo connected to my PlayStation 5, and I want to test out 3 different things. Number 1, I want to test out this interface's ability to use a gaming style headset for both audio and microphone quality or microphone commentary. Although this is not an actual gaming headset, this is the Rode NTH100 with the Rode ATH mic included with it. It's pretty much what a gaming headset is, a headphone with a microphone attached to it, okay? So we're gonna see if the port in the back is able to pick up the mic connected to the headphones. And we're also going to test out this interface's ability to take an XLR microphone signal and use it on the console for both chat and content creation, because I know that a lot of content creators, when they first get started, are sometimes capturing all their content, including their commentary, on the console itself. So for that, we're going to be using the Shure MV7X via XLR connected to the back of the G1 Neo. So this is kind of a real-time test, all right? No fancy editing or anything like that going on here. So please bear with me as I get this going because it's a little tricky. The first thing that I'm going to have to do, go into sound settings on your PlayStation 5, go to audio output. I have it set to HDMI out because that's going to allow you, the audience, to hear what I'm doing right now. So that's fine. And we're going to go to microphone. So it understands and it acknowledges that the G1 Neo is connected to the PS5. When I hit adjust microphone level, you should be able to see the meter move and you should also be able to hear it. But so that there's no confusion, I'm going to unmute the stream output right now, which means that you'll probably start hearing the PS5. And I'm going to mute my Earthworks Ethos. I'm going to mute it right now. So basically what I'm just saying is that if this was working, you would see the meter right now under input volume moving, showing that it's recognizing the NTH mic connected to the NTH100, which is connected to the back of the G1 Neo. That proves to us that gaming headsets will not work when connected to the G1 Neo as far as the microphone is concerned. As far as audio is concerned, you're going to be fine. But as far as the mic is concerned, it's not going to work at all. Now, that out of the way, let's go ahead and test out the MV7X. And now I'm using the MV7X, which you can see the meter moving, and I can also see the meter moving in OBS, which means that this is picking it up. So I'm going to stop this recording right now. I need to hear what it sounds like in playback, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm not really impressed with how this thing sounds via XLR connected to a console. I know this is sounding terrible. Again, I apologize, but we're going to figure this out. All right, so the gain is set right now to about 5 o'clock. I'm going to bring it down to like 12 o'clock on the dot. So this is the MV7X connected to the G1 Neo with the gain set to 12 o'clock. I'm hoping that the distortion has diminished by quite a bit. I'm still landing in the good range over here on the input volume meter on the PlayStation 5, but we're going to continue to test this out. And now we're going to go over here down to 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock looks like it's a little bit too low, at least from what I'm seeing here on the meter, but sometimes meters lie to us. All right. And let's go over here to roughly 2 o'clock. This is the MV7X connected to the G1 Neo, which is connected to the PS5 with the gain set to around 2 o'clock. Hopefully, one of these options sounded better than what we initially started off with, because what we started off with sounded terrible. So the next thing I want to test out with the G1 Neo is its ability to deliver good, solid audio when connected to a console. We are in Caelid, playing some Elden Ring. Anyways, okay, so we're walking through Caelid. And again, I have played this game for a lot of time, and I know what this sounds like at higher fidelity, right? So when I play this on PC, I'm running it off of a DT770 Pro, which is obviously an incredible headphone, sorry. Someone's going to correct me on that, I'm sure. And please feel free to do so until I get it right the first time. There are some details missing here as I'm walking through Caelid. Caelid's kind of a spooky area, and they did an excellent job with the sound design here to really give you that spooky, like creepy vibe, and it's not all here, which is a little sad. I'm not getting all the detail I know you can get here in Caelid as far as audio is concerned, but it's not bad. It's not terrible. It's not the absolute worst. It's enough, barely. So for a single player experience, it'll get the job done. Now I'm curious what this is going to do when it comes to something more competitive, where you have to rely on soundstage, for example, to really know where your competition is at. So let's try something more competitive and multiplayer based, see how that goes. So I'm reviewing an audio interface for the PS5 right now, and I have a mic connected to it, and I just wanted to see your opinion. Does it sound good, bad, or terrible?
Yeah, it sounds good right now. Yeah, I hear you clearly, and it sounds like you whenever you first started talking, it sounded like you were a little far away, but you sounded closer now. So it sounds good now.
Hell yeah, awesome, dude. I think so. Appreciate it, man. GG. Let's get this on.
Yeah, no problem.
I can hear footsteps behind me from my team, so that's good. Yeah, so I feel like I'm able to hear footsteps when people like this is the kind of game where maybe it wasn't the best example to use, but when the enemy is moving, quickly and not creepy crawling their way around the map, we're able to hear the footsteps just fine. Which I guess for competitive gaming, that's all that really matters. So on the single player experience side of things, it's okay. It's not the best. But on the competitive side of things, I feel like the soundstage is good enough, and you're able to hear things just at just about the right time. Could it use an improvement? Absolutely. But it's not too bad. Now, before we get into the performance of the Maonocaster G1 Neo in regards to its console use case, in case you were wondering what this would sound like with a condenser XLR microphone plugged into it, well, here you go. This is the Rode NT1 5th generation condenser XLR microphone plugged into the Maonocaster G1 Neo. The only processing I've got going on right now is the noise reduction, and it's set to low. Everything else is just how the microphone sounds on its own plugged into the interface. So right off the bat, this sounds pretty darn good, in my opinion. So let's go ahead and talk about the console performance, though, because there are some issues here. The most disappointing thing about using the G1 Neo here on a console is that I was expecting the microphone audio to be way better than what we got. And I honestly was expecting it to be like what you have heard me using in this video this entire time. Right now I'm using the Elgato Wave XLR, but you've heard me use this Universal Audio SD1 with this interface on this laptop, and it sounds just fine. But that is not what we got when we did it on the PlayStation 5. I don't know if that is an issue with this device here, and or it's probably an issue with the console. And more importantly, as I said in a segment covering this, it's most likely a communication issue between the two devices, right? So disappointing, because I try to put myself in the shoes of a content creator who is capturing their content on a console. I would have loved for this to give them XLR quality mic audio, and it doesn't do that. The other thing that I have an issue with here is the fact that the headset port at the back, at least when I tried it out, doesn't capture microphone audio from a gaming headset's mic, for example. And I think that that's kind of crappy, okay? But no, all's fair in love and war, because as I was playing Valorant, I asked the guys in my lobby, in my team, like, hey, like, I'm testing out this interface, how does it sound? And they said it sounded great, crisp, and clear. And so when it comes to that, to using it as a chatting microphone, it's fantastic, it gets the job done. But when I'm looking at it as a content creator capturing and recording content on my console, because maybe I haven't gotten to the point where I can use a PC yet, very disappointing. The other point that disappointed me here is the audio quality of the games themselves, right? And you saw me play Elden Ring, and I just felt like something was missing as I was walking through Caelid. Like, Caelid had the Elden Ring as a whole, most From Software games as a whole have exceptional sound design, and not only have exceptional sound design, but the sound is as if it were a character in the game itself. And Caelid is a very creepy area, and it has very unique sounds that go on and around the whole area, and I felt like a lot of those were missing. And so in order to test that out, I connected the G1 Neo to my laptop. I booted up Elden Ring on Steam. I went back to the same exact spot I was at in Caelid, and it is a night and day difference from what I hear when it's connected to my laptop versus what I heard when I had it connected to the PlayStation 5. So we're missing some sounds. We're missing some depth, something, some levels, some layers are just not necessarily there, but it gets the job done. As far as, using it in the sense of competitive games like Valorant, for example, I heard what I needed to hear. I was able to hear the footsteps when the opposition was running instead of just kind of, sneaking around. I was able to hear those gunshots and tell where they were coming from, so that was perfectly fine in that regard. But I'm honestly, I'm walking this very thin line with this device between being impressed and being very disappointed. I'm impressed because of what it can do at $60. I am disappointed at what it doesn't deliver at $60, okay? And what disappoints me the most here is the fact that I really wanted this to do a whole lot more for consoles, and it just doesn't do that. And it's hard for me to sit here and recommend this for a console content creator, but on PC, it does fine. It really does fine. It delivers good audio to your headphones, and it puts out good audio through whatever microphone it is you're using, be it a dynamic or a condenser microphone. It doesn't even matter. However, there are some other issues that are present here, given that it is $60. As I said at the beginning of the video, it's an all plastic build, so you drop this, you're probably going to break it. The biggest issue was the slider, right? So now I can give you kind of more of a visual representation. So when I was testing the slider out and I was talking about how I had it up at like here, like kind of like at the 2 to 3. I hope you can see it right there, right? At about there was the lowest I could go before. If I dropped it any lower, it would cut out all the way completely, right? And if you can see, I still have a good bit of room, a good bit of distance to travel before I get all the way down. And so it would take for me to bring it up, whoop, wrong one. It would take for me to bring it up to like almost here before the sound kicked back on again. And that is a huge issue. I don't know if this is something unique to my unit or if this is something that is being experienced across the board. I feel like the gain step is fine. The amount the gain increases as you rotate the dial, I think that's perfectly fine. The same can be said about reverb. And on PC, the same can be said about the headphone volume. However, when it comes to the console, I feel like we lost decibels when it comes to how loud the audio was coming in. I had my slider all the way up and my headphone dial all the way to maximum, and I felt like it wasn't cranking out the juice it was supposed to. And that's a little weird. As far as some of the features and benefits, again, the Bluetooth connectivity is an excellent feature to have. It's very useful, can make things a lot easier, and can give you the opportunity to kind of add some flair and flavor to your content. And the fact that that's included on a $60 device is fantastic. Overall, I'm genuinely stuck between a rock and a hard place when it comes to recommending this product. I think that if you buy it because you just need an audio interface for an XLR microphone, then I think you're going to be fine. I think it's going to deliver, and it's going to do exactly what you need it to do, considering that you're only paying $60 for it. If you buy it expecting to be able to use it on your console and use it as an interface on a console to capture content on a console, you're going to be very disappointed. Ultimately, as much as I believe in the value that budget-priced gear offers to those of you out there that would find this to be useful and necessary, you really want to weigh all the pros and the cons. And that goes for anything that you go out there and shop for, right? So, bottom line is this. For $60, if you just need an audio interface, this is awesome. This will get the job done if you're using this on PC. Not going to work so well if you're using it on console. It's going to work on console for chat and chat only. And I want to make a note that is very important here. This is not advertised as being an interface for console. I was just wondering if it would translate one-to-one when connected to a console. We already know the results there. So I'm not saying that they said it would work as an interface on a console and that it would reproduce the same exact quality that you would get from it as if it were connected to a computer. But I got to test it out. I got to find out because I'm curious, right? And I want to make sure that this, you know, somebody out there is going to be like, oh my God, I can connect this to my PlayStation 5, hook up an XLR mic to it and have XLR mic quality on a console. That's not the case. It's not going to happen. The noise reduction, that is like the one thing I would say makes this thing great, because you can use your microphone and listen. A dynamic mic is going to do a great job of rejecting noise, okay? A condenser microphone like the Rode NT1 5th generation I was using, if you don't have noise reduction and you're using it in an untreated room, you're going to hear your soul. You're going to hear the inner thoughts of your soul, okay? And so the fact that we have a $60 device that has noise reduction built into it, I think on that alone, the fact that the preamps are decent, unless you blast the gain all the way, it's going to make some noise. But the fact that the preamps are decent and you had noise reduction already included without having to download additional software for it, on those 2 points alone, the $60 are worth it. The audio that you get out of this thing into your headphones connected to a PC, fantastic. It's gonna do what it's supposed to do, and you're gonna be just fine. I would not recommend this to somebody who's creating content on a console because it's just not going to do a good job at all. What I would have loved to seen here is that you're able to connect this to a console and a PC, and you're able to use your one microphone to both. I would love that. And I don't know if there's a device that does that just yet. But if this could have been the one to say, hey, you can connect me to a console and a PC, and whatever mic you're running into here, it's going to go out to both, that would be incredible. And I'm hoping to God that somebody eventually does that if they haven't already. $60, y'all. Maonocaster G1 Neo. I recommend it for PC users or people who have a first-time need for an audio interface. I don't recommend it for anybody else. So those are my honest thoughts and opinions on the matter here. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Hope you found it informative and helpful. Let me know if you have any questions about it, anything else that I missed in the test. I'll go ahead and happily respond to that. Until next time, be good to yourselves, be good to one another.